Egyptian Mythology Explained. Unlock the secrets of the gods, beneath the golden dawn of the Nile, where ancient waters meet timeless sands. A story older than memory whispers through the desert winds. This is not just history, it's a lens into a civilization that saw the universe as a living, breathing tapestry. What secrets lie beneath Egypt's sands? What truths about chaos, order, and existence itself echo through its myths? Egyptian mythology isn't just stories. It's a profound system of cosmic principles, blending gods, humanity, and the rhythms of nature into one harmonious philosophy. While other mythologies show gods as distant or flawed, Egypt's deities embodied the cycles of life, order, and renewal, reflected in the ever-transforming Nile. From Ra's eternal struggle of light and dark to Osiris's death and rebirth as a metaphor for human transformation, these myths are a map of existence itself. For over 3,000 years, this mythology evolved alongside a dynamic civilization, adapting to cultural shifts and conquests, while maintaining its core balance between Ma'at, order, and Isfet, chaos. Join me as we unravel the mysteries of Egypt, where gods, humanity, and the natural world form a single divine flow of energy. This isn't just a historical journey, it's a chance to see the universe as the Egyptians did, interconnected, alive, and miraculous. If you love exploring the stories that shaped our world, don't forget to like this video, share it with others, and leave your thoughts in the comments below. And if you haven't already, hit subscribe to join me for more fascinating journeys like this one. Let's begin. Part 1. The Creation and Cosmic Order. Myth. Before time itself had meaning, before light pierced the infinite darkness, there was none. Not merely water, but the primordial, limitless ocean of potential, a swirling, formless chaos that contained within it the seeds of all creation. None was not emptiness, but a pregnant silence, a cosmic womb vibrating with unmanifested possibilities. Imagine an infinite dark ocean where no distinctions existed, no up or down, no light or darkness, no life or death. Just pure, undifferentiated potential. From this primordial chaos, the first god emerged, a self-created being known as Atum. The word Atum itself is profound, meaning complete, or all. He was not created. He created himself, embodying the principle of self-generation and infinite potential. In some traditions, Atum is described as emerging from the waters of Nun as a primordial hill, the first solid ground rising from the infinite ocean, a metaphor that would later inspire the very geography of Egypt itself. He created through the power of thought and speech, a concept known as logos in later philosophical traditions. By naming something, by thinking it into existence, Atum began the process of differentiation that would ultimately create the universe. First, Atum created the primary pair of gods, Shu the air and Tefnut the moisture. These were not merely elemental forces, but fundamental principles of existence. Shu represented the space between things, the principle of separation and distinction. Tefnut represents the binding, fluid energy that allows connection and transformation. Together, they represented the first step from undifferentiated chaos to a structured universe. Shu and Tefnut then gave birth to Geb the earth and Nut the sky. Geb and Nut were lovers, constantly embracing but forcibly separated by their father Shu, who stood between them. This separation created the space where life could exist, a powerful metaphor for the delicate balance required for existence. The Egyptian understanding of creation was cyclical, not linear. Each day was a reenactment of the original creation, with the sun, god Ra, making his journey across the sky, battling the forces of chaos and being reborn each morning. This daily cycle mirrored the larger cosmic cycles of creation, destruction, and renewal. The concept of Ma'at, the fundamental order of the universe, emerged from these creation myths. Ma'at was more than a principle. It was a living force that maintained balance, preventing the return to the formless chaos of none. The pharaohs were considered the earthly embodiments of Mayat, responsible for maintaining cosmic and social order. The gods were not merely anthropomorphic beings, but representations of natural and metaphysical principles. Each deity had a specific role in maintaining the delicate balance of existence. Some protected against chaos, some facilitated transformation, some represented creative principles, while others embodied destructive forces necessary for renewal. Take, for example, the complex relationship between Osiris, god of fertility and resurrection, Set, god of chaos and destruction, and Horus, god of kingship in the sky. Their ongoing conflict was not just a mythological narrative, but a profound exploration of the tensions between order and chaos, life and death, stability and change. The Egyptian pantheon was not a rigid hierarchy, but a dynamic, interconnected system. Gods could merge, separate, take on new attributes and transform, reflecting the fluid nature of existence itself. A god might have multiple aspects, multiple names, multiple roles, just as human experience is multifaceted and ever-changing. Imagine the universe as the Egyptians saw it, not a mechanical system, but a living, breathing organism. The sky was not an empty vastness, but a living goddess Nut, who swallowed the sun each evening and gave birth to it each morning. The earth was not just a physical space, but a god, Geb, with consciousness, desires, and relationships. This was a worldview that saw divinity not as something separate from the physical world, but as the very essence of physical existence. Every rock, every river, every star was alive with divine consciousness. Humans were not separate from this divine landscape, but integral participants in an ongoing cosmic drama. As we delve deeper into Egyptian mythology, remember, these are not just stories. They are sophisticated philosophical explorations of existence, encoded in mythological language. They ask the most fundamental questions. How does something emerge from nothing? What maintains order in a universe constantly threatened by chaos? What is the nature of creation, of consciousness, of renewal? The answers lie in the myths, waiting to be understood, not just with the intellect, but with the imagination, with a sense of wonder that transcends literal interpretation. Part 2, Gods, Goddesses and Heroes of Egyptian Mythology. In the intricate cosmology of ancient Egypt, gods were not distant, untouchable entities, but living, breathing forces that pulsed through every aspect of existence. Each deity was a complex character, not simply a god of one thing, but a multifaceted being whose influence stretched across the boundaries of natural and supernatural realms. At the heart of the Egyptian pantheon stood Ra, the sun god, but to call him simply a sun god would be like calling the ocean a mere puddle. Ra was the embodiment of creation, movement, and eternal renewal. Each night, he would journey through the underworld in his solar boat, battling the chaos serpent Apophis, representing the eternal struggle between order and destruction. Imagine the nightly journey. Ra, surrounded by protective deities, navigating through dark caverns filled with dangerous creatures. Each segment of his journey represented a different hour of the night, each with its own challenges, its own guardians and enemies. This was not just a mythological narrative, but a profound allegory for the human journey through darkness, struggle, and eventual rebirth. Ra's importance cannot be overstated. He was not just a celestial body, but the source of life itself. Each morning, his emergence was a recreation of the world, a daily renewal of cosmic order. Pharaohs would often combine their names with Ra, such as Rameses, meaning Ra is born, seeking to embody his creative and life-giving power. If Ra represented the daily cycle of creation, Osiris embodied the deeper, more mysterious cycle of death and rebirth. His myth is perhaps the most powerful in Egyptian mythology, a story of murder, dismemberment, and resurrection that became a fundamental template for understanding human transformation. Murdered by his brother Set, Osiris was cut into 14 pieces and scattered across Egypt. His wife Isis, through her magical powers and unwavering love, gathered these pieces and resurrected him, if only temporarily. This myth was far more than a simple tale of familial conflict. It was a sophisticated exploration of how life emerges from destruction, how wholeness can be reconstructed from fragmentation. The Osiris myth became the foundation of Egyptian beliefs about the afterlife. Every deceased person was associated with Osiris, with the hope of resurrection and eternal life. Mummification, elaborate burial practices, and the complex rituals of the Book of the Dead all stemmed from this fundamental mythological narrative. Isis emerged as one of the most powerful and complex goddesses in the Egyptian pantheon. Far more than a mere wife or mourner, she was a symbol of magical power, maternal love, and strategic intellect. Her ability to resurrect Osiris, to protect her son Horus, and to outwit even the most powerful gods demonstrated a form of power that transcended physical might. In the Isis myth, we see a profound understanding of feminine power, not as a passive force, but as an active, transformative energy. She used her intelligence, her magical knowledge, and her deep emotional capacity to navigate complex challenges. Her worship would eventually spread far beyond Egypt, becoming one of the most widespread religious cults in the ancient Mediterranean world. While many gods represented cosmic principles, Anubis occupied a unique space as the guardian between the world of the living and the dead. With the head of a jackal and the body of a human, Anubis was the god of mummification and the protector of souls in their journey through the underworld. In the critical moment of judgment, Anubis would weigh the deceased's heart against the feather of Maat, determining whether the soul was worthy of eternal peace or would be consumed by Amit, the devourer of souls. This was not mere mythological drama, but a profound exploration of personal accountability, of the weight of one's actions, extending beyond physical life. Part 3. Heroes and Mortals. The line between gods and humans in Egyptian mythology was remarkably fluid. Pharaohs were considered living gods, embodiments of Horus on earth. Heroes like Imhotep, who began as a mortal and was later deified, demonstrated that divine status could be achieved through wisdom, innovation, and service. The story of Imhotep is particularly fascinating. Originally a historical figure, a brilliant architect, physician, and advisor to the pharaoh, he was so revered that he was eventually worshipped as a god of medicine and wisdom. This reflects a fundamental Egyptian belief that the potential for divine qualities exists within human beings. Egyptian gods were not isolated beings, but part of an intricate, often tumultuous family network. Their relationships were as complex as human relationships, filled with love, betrayal, competition, and reconciliation. The myth of Horus and Set, for instance, represents more than a simple conflict. It is an exploration of legitimate succession, of the tension between order and chaos, of how new systems of power are established. What emerges from these stories is not a static pantheon, but a living, breathing mythological system. These were not simply explanations of natural phenomena, but sophisticated philosophical and psychological explorations. Each myth was a mirror, reflecting the complexity of human experience, our struggles, our transformations, our eternal quest for meaning. As we delve into these stories, we are not just learning about ancient beliefs. We are witnessing a profound attempt to understand the fundamental nature of existence, its cycles of creation and destruction, its delicate balance, its mysterious, transformative power. The gods of Egypt whisper to us across millennia, inviting us to see beyond the surface, to understand that mythology is not about supernatural beings, but about the deepest truths of human experience. Part 4. Cultural Practices and Worship. To understand Egyptian worship is to understand a way of life where the divine was not separated from the mundane, but intricately woven into every moment of existence. Religion was not a weekly practice or a set of abstract beliefs, but a living, breathing system that governed social structures, daily activities, and the very conception of reality. Egyptian temples were far more than places of worship. They were cosmic machines, precisely designed to channel divine energy, to maintain the delicate balance between the human and divine worlds. Each temple was a microcosm of the universe, a living organism with its own ecosystem of priests, rituals, and sacred responsibilities. Take the Temple of Karnak, a sprawling complex that took over 2,000 years to complete. Imagine walking through its massive hypostyle hall, enormous columns rising like petrified forests, each carved with intricate hieroglyphs telling stories of divine interactions. The very architecture was a form of worship, a three-dimensional text that spoke of cosmic principles. Priests were not mere intermediaries, but highly trained specialists. They were astronomers, mathematicians, healers, and keepers of sacred knowledge. Their daily rituals were not simple prayers, but complex performances designed to maintain cosmic order. Each morning they would symbolically recreate the act of creation, ensuring the continuation of universal harmony. The concept of Ma'at, divine order and balance, was not an abstract philosophical idea, but a practical daily concern. Every ritual, every offering, every religious practice was designed to support this fundamental principle. In the Temple of Ra at Heliopolis, priests would perform the opening of the mouth ceremony daily. This was not a metaphorical ritual, but a precise, complex procedure believed to maintain the life force of the divine statues. Imagine a priest dressed in pure white linen, using specially crafted bronze tools to symbolically open the statue's mouth, allowing it to breathe, to speak, to receive offerings. Offerings were a form of communication with the gods, a sophisticated exchange that went far beyond simple gift-giving. Different gods required different offerings based on their nature and domain. Osiris might receive agricultural products, symbolizing fertility and renewal. Sekhmet, the lion-headed goddess of war, might receive wine-like substances that represented blood. These were not arbitrary practices, but deeply symbolic interactions. An offering of bread was not just food, but a representation of the agricultural cycle, of human labor, of the transformation from raw grain to sustaining nourishment. An offering of incense was a way of purifying space, of creating a bridge between the physical and spiritual realms. Egyptian religious life was punctuated by elaborate festivals that were far more than mere celebrations. They were cosmic reenactments, moments when mythological time would intersect with human time. The festival of Opet, celebrated in Thebes, was a prime example. For several weeks, the statues of Amun, his wife Mut, and their son Khonsu would be carried in a grand procession from Karnak to Luxor Temple. This was not just a parade, but a profound ritual of renewal. The pharaoh would be symbolically reborn, reaffirming his divine status and the cosmic order. Part 5. Death and Afterlife. The ultimate spiritual practice. No aspect of Egyptian religious practice was more complex and sophisticated than their approach to death. Contrary to popular belief, Egyptian funeral practices were not about preserving a body, but about ensuring a successful journey through the afterlife. Mummification was an intricate, months-long process that was part medical procedure, part spiritual ritual. Each step was imbued with deep symbolic meaning. The removal of internal organs represented a profound transformation. The precise wrapping techniques, the amulets placed between layers of bandages, the elaborate coffins, each element was a carefully designed spiritual technology. The Book of the Dead was not a single text, but a collection of spells and instructions for navigating the afterlife. Imagine a traveler equipped with a complex map, with incantations that could transform obstacles, with knowledge that could outwit spiritual guardians. While we often speak of Egyptian mythology as a unified system, the reality was far more nuanced. Different regions had their own local gods, their own interpretations of cosmic principles. A deity might be viewed differently in Memphis than in Thebes, with local myths adding layers of complexity to the broader mythological narrative. What emerges from this exploration is a profound spiritual technology that was centuries ahead of its time. These were not primitive beliefs, but sophisticated systems for understanding consciousness, energy, and the interconnectedness of all things. The Egyptian approach to spirituality was holistic, connecting the individual to the community to the cosmic order, the physical to the spiritual. Every ritual, every practice was an attempt to maintain balance, to support the continuous recreation of the universe. As we reflect on these practices, we are invited to see beyond our modern, fragmented understanding of spirituality. The Egyptians understood something fundamental, that the divine is not separate from life, but its very essence. Egyptian mythology was never about simple narratives or linear stories. At its core, it was a profound philosophical exploration of the fundamental tensions that define existence. These themes were not abstract concepts, but living, breathing principles that pulse through every myth, every ritual, every understanding of the universe. The most fundamental theme in Egyptian mythology was the delicate dance between creation and destruction. Unlike many mythological systems that saw these as opposing forces, Egyptian thought understood them as complementary, essential aspects of a single cosmic process. Ra's nightly journey through the underworld exemplifies this principle perfectly. Each night, as the sun god traveled through the dark realm, he would battle Apophis, the serpent of chaos. This was not a simple good versus evil narrative, but a complex exploration of how destruction is necessary for renewal. Apophis was not an absolute evil, but a necessary force that challenged and thus renewed the cosmic order. Consider the myth of the Eye of Ra, a powerful goddess who could transform from a nurturing, life-giving force to a destructive, nearly apocalyptic entity. When sent to punish humanity, she became Sekhmet, the lioness goddess whose rage could nearly destroy the world. Yet, this same destructive power could be transformed and redirected, demonstrating the fluid nature of cosmic energies. Egyptian mythology offered a nuanced exploration of human agency within a predetermined cosmic order. The concept of Heka, magical power or life force, suggested that humans were not passive subjects of divine will, but active participants in cosmic processes. The story of Pharaoh Thutmose III provides a compelling illustration. While his destiny as a ruler seemed predetermined, his personal choices, strategic thinking, and individual character played a crucial role in shaping that destiny. The gods provided a framework, but human action determined the specific manifestation of that framework. No theme was more central to Egyptian mythology than transformation. This was not merely a philosophical concept, but a fundamental understanding of reality. Death was not an end, but a transition. Destruction was not final, but a necessary step in renewal. Osiris embodied this principle most powerfully. Murdered, dismembered, and then resurrected, he became the archetypal figure of transformation. His myth suggested that wholeness could be rebuilt from fragmentation, that life emerges from destruction, that defeat is not final, but a stage of renewal. Egyptian mythology's approach to world-ending scenarios was profoundly different from many other mythological traditions. The end was not a final destruction, but a reset, a return to the primordial state of Nun, from which a new cycle of creation would emerge. The destruction of humanity. Myth provides a powerful example. In this narrative, the gods become frustrated with human disobedience and decide to destroy humanity. However, this destruction is not permanent. It is a cleansing, a renewal, a way to reset the cosmic balance. Ra sends the goddess Sekhmet to punish humanity, but her destructive rage nearly destroys everything. Only through a clever intervention, flooding the fields with red-dyed beer which Sekhmet mistakes for blood, is the destruction halted. This myth is not about absolute annihilation, but about the delicate balance between divine punishment and mercy, destruction and renewal. In the Egyptian worldview, endings were never truly final. The sun would die each night but be reborn each morning. Humans would die, but their soul would continue its journey. The world might face destruction, but this destruction was merely a prelude to recreation. This understanding offered a profound source of hope and resilience. It suggested that no situation was truly hopeless, that transformation was always possible, that the darkest moment was simply a stage in a larger cycle of renewal. What emerges from these themes is a mythology that was far more than a collection of stories. It was a sophisticated philosophical system that addressed the most fundamental questions of existence. How do order and chaos coexist? What is the nature of transformation? How do individual actions interact with cosmic principles? What gives meaning in a universe of constant change? The answers were not provided through abstract theological statements, but through rich, complex narratives that invited multiple interpretations, that respected the complexity of human and divine experience. As we stand thousands of years removed from these myths, they continue to whisper their wisdom. They remind us that life is not a linear journey, but a cyclical dance, that destruction can be a form of creation, that endings are merely transitions, that the universe is far more mysterious and interconnected than our limited perceptions can comprehend. In the words of an ancient Egyptian inscription, "To know the way, walk the way." Egyptian mythology was not just about understanding cosmic principles, but about living them, experiencing them, becoming them. Mythology does not truly die. It transforms, migrates, seeps into the collective consciousness of humanity, reshaping itself through time while maintaining its fundamental essence. Egyptian mythology, in particular, has proven to be an extraordinary vessel of wisdom. A living, breathing, philosophical system that continues to influence human thought in ways both subtle and profound. The impact of Egyptian mythology extends far beyond historical curiosity. Its influence can be traced through philosophy, art, psychology, and even modern scientific understanding. Carl Jung, the legendary psychologist, drew extensively from Egyptian mythological archetypes in developing his theories of the collective unconscious. The complex symbolism of Egyptian myths provided him with a rich language for understanding the deeper layers of human psychology. In the realm of philosophy, Egyptian concepts of cyclical time and interconnected cosmic principles have found resonance with modern quantum physics. The Egyptian understanding of reality as a fluid, interconnected system, where observer and observed are deeply intertwined, predates by thousands of years similar insights emerging from contemporary scientific research. Final part, a living, breathing legacy. As we conclude this exploration, it becomes clear that Egyptian mythology is not a dead system of beliefs, but a living philosophical tradition. It continues to speak to fundamental human experiences, our quest for meaning, our struggle with transformation, our desire to understand our place in the cosmic order. These myths remind us that understanding is not about finding absolute answers, but about remaining open to mystery, to complexity, to the endless dance of creation and destruction. In the words of an ancient Egyptian inscription, "The world is a book, and those who do not travel read only one page." Egyptian mythology invites us to turn the page, to look beyond the obvious, to see the extraordinary within the ordinary. The gods of Egypt are not silent. They continue to whisper their wisdom, waiting for those willing to listen.